So it was recently announced that Season 5 for Peaky Blinders was going to be coming out soon. Now personally, regarding Peaky Blinders, I'm not really the biggest fan of it. I've actually never even seen an episode of Peaky Blinders, so I can't really have a say on the show itself, but it's got plenty of fans and I hear it's really good, so I'll consider maybe checking out a couple of episodes of it one day. But ultimately, one thing I wanted to talk about regarding the announcement of Season 5 of Peaky Blinders was the fact that when I checked out the trailers, it turned out that Oswald Mosley, or Sir Oswald Mosley, was going to be appearing as a character in the Peaky Blinders series. Now, I'm not really sure if he's going to be maybe a type of cameo kind of character that only has a one-time appearance, or if he's going to be a more regular supporting kind of character that appears in later seasons. We don't really know at this moment, but either way, he's going to be appearing in Season 5 of Peaky Blinders. Now, we all know by now what kind of portrayal of Oswald Mosley we're going to be getting in this TV series. We all know he's going to be the cartoony kind of villain kind of character. He's going to be some sort of antagonist. They're going to portray him as an unlikable person. He's going to be the kind of character that just comes out with the typical right-wing rhetoric kind of stuff. We're going to be getting, in many ways, a kind of character that's going to be the equivalent of Charlie Chaplin's Great Dictator. And with the fact that most writers these days, most television writers, many things like that, many of them are left-leaning, and TV shows these days, many TV shows and movies, they all tend to have left-leaning messages. Not all of them, but many of them these days tend to have many left-leaning kinds of messages and all of that stuff. It all has to be politically correct, and for that I expect nothing less than for Oswald Mosley to be completely written as a cartoony kind of antagonist kind of character in Peaky Blinders Season 5. I will be genuinely surprised if they don't do exactly what I've just said there. But here is one thing that I wanted to theorise with this. Now, even though Oswald Mosley, he was fairly well known, people that know their British history are going to know who Oswald Mosley was, I'm under the impression, though, that most people that watch Peaky Blinders, are fans of Peaky Blinders, watch the show religiously, however, are not going to know who he was. I've probably never even heard of him. Now, here's what I'm thinking with this. Now, like I said, I'm theorising. I could be entirely wrong with this. I could be shooting way off the mark here. But with the fact that there are so many fans of Peaky Blinders, okay, and many of them don't know who Oswald Mosley was, what I'm thinking is a lot of people may actually research who Oswald Mosley was. They may look up his history, look up, what he actually did, his politics during the mid-30s and after the war as well. A lot of people are going to look up the kind of person he actually was, and maybe disregard the portrayal of him in the Peaky Blinders TV series. Now, what I'm thinking with this, even though I'm thinking many people who look him up, research him, maybe look up his speeches or anything like that, are not going to really respect him, but what you could say is the fact that, with the fact that so many people are finding out who he is now, there's going to be some individuals that look him up and, maybe there's going to be a newfound respect, to say the very least, for Sir Oswald Mosley. Okay, because Oswald Mosley, for people that know him, he was a patriotic individual, he was very pro-British, he was also very pro-European as well, and he made that very clear after the war as well. And talking about the war as well, he was actually heavily against that. He was, in many ways, a kind of pacifist. He was heavily against, young Germans and young British soldiers just tearing each other apart. And with the fact that Sir Oswald Mosley was many of those things, I believe there's a chance that there could be a newfound respect for him. Oswald Mosley was a very interesting individual. He was a very intelligent individual, despite what the mainstream media, the likes of The Guardian, would tell you about him. He was actually a very interesting and very intelligent person. He's written a number of books as well. I actually own a couple of his books. He's overall one of those kinds of people that you should at least look up. And I highly recommend you honestly check out maybe a couple of his books, maybe check out the history of him, what he did during the 1930s and what he did after the war as well, way up until 1980, the day he died. Oswald Mosley was an individual who had a very eventful life, and it was also very polarising as well. And I'm thinking many people who are fans of Peaky Blinders or, religiously watch the show may look him up, maybe look up his history, and like I said, there could be a newfound respect for him, which ultimately I believe would be a good thing. But like I said, I could just be shooting in the dark here, and I could just be entirely wrong. But at the end of it, we just have to wait and see what happens. At the very least, if you are an individual who is a fan of Peaky Blinders watching this, I honestly recommend that you do research the kind of person Oswald Mosley actually was, rather than just go off a portrayal of him on television, because it's very likely going to be an inaccurate, cartoonish portrayal, a wannabe dictator, a wannabe Hitler, one of those kinds of individuals, when actually there's a lot more depth to the kind of person Oswald Mosley really was. Okay, gentlemen, this has been Lord Flashheart. Be sure to rate, comment, favourite, share and subscribe, and I will see you again. Cheerio!